On the very first morning of Season 13, Oak Island was as silent as if the ground itself were holding its breath. Near the garden shaft, every small sound from the team seemed to float away and disappear into the air. That familiar tension was evident on Rick and Marty's faces, as if they knew they wouldn't find anything normal today. The machines were moving slowly, and a strange metallic thump coming from deep within the soil stopped everyone for a moment. As the digging continued, the crew's eyes grew filled with both fear and excitement. A slight chill spread in the air, as if an ancient story was being awakened beneath the ground. The camera team zoomed in, and Rick's voice came out in a whisper. "Guys, this isn't the kind of sound we hear every day." That single line froze the atmosphere. No one spoke. Everyone stared at the dark cavity that was slowly opening beneath the shaft. Then suddenly, a dim golden reflection shone out from within the soil. No one could figure out whether it was metal, an artifact, or something completely new. Marty immediately said, "Turn the lights down, just a little." And as the lights dimmed, a shape began to emerge from within that looked like an ancient structure. This was the moment that shook everyone, because this thing was coming from exactly the same place where nothing had ever been found before. It felt as if someone had deliberately hidden something under the garden shaft centuries ago. And brother, one thing is clear: people watch videos, get shocked, make theories, but don't subscribe. This time, listen with your hand on your heart. If you don't want to miss Oak Island's biggest revelations, subscribe now. Or else the next truth will slip past you, and you'll just be a late viewer. As the excavator went a little deeper, the usual mechanical noises were heard at first, but a few seconds later, a thump came that stopped everyone's heart. This sound wasn't like any other soil or rock collision. It was clear, solid, and metallic, as if a large iron plate was hidden beneath. The machine operator immediately stopped his work and looked back at the team, his eyes filled with the same question everyone else was thinking. From Chris to Marty, everyone froze for a moment, because on Oak Island, such a sound always meant something big. The crew slowly approached the edge of the shaft, and everyone tried to decipher the sound on their own. The operator calmly said, "Boss, this isn't rock. This is something else. Something solid. Something very heavy." That one sentence changed the entire atmosphere. Rick looked closely at the patch of soil where the sound had come, and his eyes lit up. He understood this wasn't a normal find. It could be something bigger. Marty immediately said, "Test it." Hit it lightly again. And the operator moved the excavator's arm forward a little. The second hit brought an even clearer metallic sound, and this time it felt hollow. It felt as if there was a chamber below or a sealed object with empty space inside. This sound further increased the tension level of the entire team. Rick looked at Marty, and without speaking, both understood that they would have to proceed with extreme caution. The question was, how could something like metal be so deep in this part of Oak Island? And if there was a structure, who could have built it? Work was underway, when suddenly a strange movement was felt in the air inside the shaft. At first, everyone thought it might be a temperature fluctuation, but within moments, a strong gust of cold air rose upwards, so cold that even the nearby camera lens became slightly foggy. The safety team immediately dimmed the lights to balance visibility and reduce dust glare. This cold wave didn't seem natural. The lower layers of the garden shaft are usually warm, but the opposite was happening here. Rick leaned toward the shaft and looked down, his breathing slowing, his voice coming out in a near whisper. "Guys, this is a sign of a hollow space." His whisper intensified the situation. The team instantly went into alert mode because a hollow space on Oak Island could mean two possibilities: either an ancient tunnel or a man-made chamber sealed for centuries. Both possibilities are dangerous and exciting. A constant drop in air pressure was felt, as if air trapped in a cavity below was trying to escape. When this air reached the top, it had a slight dampness, as if an extremely old room was slowly breathing. Some crew members said they also smelled a metallic odor in the air, like rusted iron or an old container. Marty immediately ordered the digging to slow down, as a sudden air shift can sometimes be a sign of structural collapse. The excavator operator reduced the speed and kept every movement of his hand under strict control. The camera team also came very close to the shaft and recorded everything in zoom-in mode. The dust being raised by the air movement was forming a strange pattern, as if there was a hollow dome or box below that was releasing air. Rick whispered to Marty, "Such a perfect air shift only happens when something sealed breaks for the first time." And this line sent shivers down the crew's spine. For a few moments, there was no sound, only the cool air slowly escaping, and the low rumble of the machines could be heard. The atmosphere itself told a story that something very unusual was lurking beneath. Then, suddenly, a slight vibration was felt in a part of the shaft's soil. Not strong, but sharp. Chris immediately asked, "Is this a gas pocket or a chamber opening?" No one had the answer, but Rick had that familiar Oak Island intuition on his face. "We're very close." As the lights dimmed and the air pressure dropped, the entire environment began to feel supernatural. The team realized the metal echo was just the beginning. The real mystery lay behind this cold air shift. What lay in that hollow space? An ancient vault, a Templar cache, or an unknown tunnel? This suspense takes the entire scene to the next level. As the excavator's last few scoops were being removed, the soil slowly began to settle. The camera team was taking close-up shots as usual, but suddenly a glint caught everyone's attention. This wasn't a random light bounce, it was a very faint but clear golden reflection, as if light was reflecting off the smooth surface of a metal. The shine was so controlled that even the soil particles seemed to fade in front of it. For a few seconds, no one understood what it was, but the camera operator immediately said, "Guys, wait! Something's shining here!" Marty initially thought it might be some modern metallic junk or camera glare, but as he bent down to look, his brows furrowed slightly. The reflection wasn't directly in his eyes. It was coming from something trapped deep within the soil. Marty said, slightly confused, "This isn't a natural shine. It's something else. Metal? Artifact? Or something even bigger?" That familiar Oak Island curiosity was clearly audible in his voice. Rick came closer and tried to capture the small glowing spot, but the same thin layer of mud obscured the reflection. The camera team began to capture the glow by varying angles, and the closer they got, the clearer it became that this wasn't a random mineral shine. This golden light was coming from a fixed direction, as if the light was trapped on a solid surface. As the mud was removed, the reflection grew brighter, and the crew's tension was turning to excitement. This is the moment before the moment in Oak Island parlance. Rick stared at the reflection for a long time. His eyes didn't just express curiosity. There was a different depth in them, as if he was seeing his father's entire dream in this small golden glimpse. He stepped back slightly and touched the shaft wall, and his face revealed a rare emotional expression that Rick doesn't usually show often. The crew members also noticed this change, and the atmosphere became serious for a moment. Rick speaks softly, almost in a whisper. "You guys know. My dad always used to say something about garden shaft. He said, 'The right day will come, and the right people will dig.' Then Oak Island will speak for itself." Hearing this line, the rest of the team fell silent for a few seconds. It felt as if that golden glow reflected not just metal, but the hopes of generations. He continues, "Every time we came here to dig, my dad used to say that this place has a heartbeat. It just needs someone to feel it." There was a deep sincerity in Rick's voice, and this memory made the whole moment more than just an archaeological find. It became part of a family legacy. It was that same emotional beat that makes every big reveal of Oak Island special. Marty had been listening quietly to Rick and said softly, "Maybe today is that day, Rick." Rick looked back at the soil and laughed softly. "If this is what my dad talked about, then we're very close." This emotional tension was affecting the entire crew. Everyone became more serious about the truth behind the reflection. Marty ordered the soil to be cleaned by hand, and the machines were momentarily stopped to prevent any damage. As the loose soil was removed with hand tools, the golden reflection became more defined. It no longer seemed like a random sparkle. It was part of a smooth metal surface, perhaps covered in centuries of soil. Someone said in a low voice, "It could be the corner of a box or container." Rick replied, "Or part of a vault. The dust of time still clings to it." The intensity of the reflection was increasing, and so was the crew's heartbeat. The camera was now documenting live at super close zoom, and every second felt as if history itself was about to reveal itself below. Rick lifted a small chunk of soil and separated it, and as he adjusted the light, the golden layer inside was revealed a little more. As the digging progressed, a moment came that shook the entire Oak Island team. As the excavator's arms scraped the next layer, the soil suddenly cracked and collapsed. It resembled a natural collapse, but the cavity that formed after the collapse seemed unnatural. A small open pocket appeared in the shaft walls, so clear, so symmetrical, that anyone could immediately understand this wasn't accidental. The crew shone flashlights inside, and within the cavity, a strange geometric shape appeared. This wasn't a random stone. Its lines were so straight and sharp that Dr. Spooner's first reaction was, "Guys, this can't be natural." The smaller the cavity, the more distinct the shape. It looked as if someone had carved this area at perfect angles centuries ago. Its surface had a slight depth and a smoothness rarely found in underground rocks. The crew's faces showed both excitement and fear. Rick pushed the flashlight a little deeper and saw the same symmetry on the other side of the shape. His eyes suddenly widened, as if he realized it wasn't just something, but part of a larger structure. Marty came closer and said softly, "This could be the corner of a box or a chamber." Dr. Spooner wasn't entirely confident looking at the shape, but his words were heavy. Nature doesn't create such perfect symmetry. This is part of a built structure. There was certainty in his tone, and Spooner doesn't usually make guesses. When he speaks based on a strong observation. Hearing this statement sent the entire team's heartbeat racing. Because if it's man-made, then it's the biggest confirmation in Oak Island's history that something was intentionally built down here. As news spreads, the rest of the team's experts also approach the cavity. Historian Laird Niven is a little perplexed by the shape. He measures its boundary with his finger and says, "It looks like Templar-era geometry, but the material composition suggests otherwise. It could also be a pre-Templar cache that was later sealed." Hearing this, Spooner laughs and says, "Pre-Templar? These are pure construction lines. I think it's the outer frame of an ancient vault." This is where an intellectual clash begins between the two experts, and this clash becomes the most interesting suspense of the video. Spooner argues that this is clearly part of a constructed vault, whose geometry was engineered. He explains that the patterns have the kind of precision that weathering and natural forces cannot create. The historian, on the other hand, argues that the shape may be even older than the Templars and was created by an earlier explorer or an unknown group, perhaps one of those who first mapped Oak Island. The crew listens to both, and the camera captures every second. This debate wasn't like a classroom. Centuries of history, geology, engineering, and mythology all collided. Marty interrupted and asked, "If it's not natural and not Templar, then whose work is it?" The question hung in the air, and no one had an immediate answer. No attempt was made to take the shape out because the cavity was fragile, and if it was part of a larger chamber or box, careless handling could damage the structure. So the team decided to first map its full perimeter. As this mapping began, the edges of the cavity became clearer, and it was discovered that the visible part of the shape was only 10%. The rest was hidden in deeper soil layers. This revelation further increased the tension, as it meant that the beginnings of a larger structure lay beneath. When digging progresses to the next phase, the crew discovers something unexpected beneath the soil. A long wooden piece emerges from the excavator's bucket, but its texture reveals it's not modern wood. Rick and Marty immediately have it cleaned by hand, and their surprise is revealed when two more wooden beams, forming an exact support frame, are discovered. The team immediately sends it for lab testing, and just a few hours later, the results arrive. Radiocarbon dating points directly to the 1600s. This stunned everyone, as it meant someone had already excavated at this exact location 400 years ago. A different energy spread within the team. If someone had been digging here in the 1600s, they must have known Oak Island's deepest secrets. These wooden beams didn't seem to have been thrown away randomly. Their placement suggested an ancient crew had built a support frame and tried to find something. Rick looked at the beam and said softly, "If this is the 1600s, then these people were looking for something here long before us." Marty also agreed that this wasn't accidental. It was purposeful excavation. This evidence only deepened the mystery, as history reveals no documented digging on Oak Island in the 1600s. Just minutes later, another shocking incident occurred. The camera operator was taking a close-up shot of the cavity's sidewall when his lens noticed a strange pattern. He zoomed in, and the entire crew was stunned by what he saw. Fresh-looking boot marks near the sidewall. The soil was still moist, and the prints were so clear that even the tread pattern was visible. This wasn't a centuries-old mark. It looked just days or weeks old. The operator immediately called the rest of the crew, and everyone began to carefully examine the prints. No one could explain these footprints. The biggest question arose: was someone secretly visiting the site at night or earlier? Both Rick and Marty looked confused and a little disturbed. Oak Island is a secure archaeological site, and unauthorized access is almost impossible. So whose were these modern boot marks? Was it someone connected to the government, a private hunter, or a group that doesn't want to be recorded? The thought sends a chill down one's spine. The crew carefully scanned the area, but found no other evidence. Footprints appeared to lead to and from the exact spot where the old 1600s support had been found, further increasing the suspicious vibe. It seemed as if someone had already explored these old tunnels, or perhaps was protecting something unknown. Rick said softly, "These aren't good signs. It means we're not alone." Suspense was at its peak, and amid that tension, the digging continued a little further. After a few feet, the soil began to loosen again, revealing the upper part of an angled tunnel. This wasn't a natural crack. It was clearly a man-made tunnel, its shape and angle seemingly purposeful. The crew shone a flashlight inside, and their shock only grew when they discovered that the tunnel led north. Finding something like this in the north direction beneath the garden shaft was no small feat. The north direction is the most mysterious part of Oak Island's legends. Old Templar stories and ancient maps always pointed to a secret exit or escape tunnel heading north. Both the historian and Dr. Spooner knew that this direction was historically forbidden, because it was said to be the route through which a great treasure or vault was moved. As soon as the tunnel was spotted, the entire crew shared the same expression: fear, excitement, and disbelief. Rick shone a flashlight inside and said softly, "Guys, this path leads somewhere. This isn't just some random cavity. This is a tunnel that someone deliberately created." Marty was also thinking that the 1600s supports the modern boot prints, and now this north-facing tunnel. All three told the same story. Someone has been hiding something big here for centuries, and someone is still watching over this place today, digging. Further, a perfect straight line suddenly appeared beneath the lumps of soil. This line wasn't uneven like a rock formation, it was razor-sharp, perfectly straight, and resembled a solid metallic core. The crew cleared the soil to the side with hand tools, and slowly, a long, perfectly smooth metallic edge emerged. It wasn't small, like a container. The edge was so long and bold that Rick knew at first glance that a massive structure lay before them. He softly said, "Guys, this isn't just a box, it's a door." Hearing this, the team's faces echoed with disbelief mixed with fear. The metallic edge's shine was also different, neither pure gold nor rusted iron. It looked like some ancient engineered alloy, as if someone had shaped and sealed it centuries ago. Observing its thickness and symmetry, Marty softly remarked, "This looks like the entrance to a large vault." As the soil was removed, the other side of the edge became visible, and the pattern made it clear that this wasn't a lid, but the outer frame of a sealed doorway. The shape of the door suggested it wasn't a small chamber, but perhaps the entrance to a multi-layered vault. The crew carefully cleared the boundary of the entire frame to determine its angle. When the full shape emerged, it was revealed that the metallic frame wasn't rectangular, but rather trapezoidal, just like the way old secret vaults were sealed to keep the door locked by pressure. Dr. Spooner made an immediate observation. An angled vault door like this couldn't be part of an accidental structure. It's designed. His voice was so confident that the rest of the crew began to believe this might be one of Oak Island's biggest mysteries. Moving or lifting the vault door up wasn't easy. The soil underneath was unstable, and the door seemed heavier than expected. So Rick and Marty decided to begin a high-risk lift operation. Lowering the crane setup into the shaft was incredibly complicated in itself, but this was the moment when the entire team needed maximum precision. The safety team quickly prepared harness straps, and engineers carefully attached metallic hooks to the corner that seemed most stable. The lights were dimmed slightly because the reflective surface distracted both the camera and the crew. In the low light, the vault door appeared even more mysterious, as if a giant metallic creature was lurking in the darkness. The crane's first test lift was so slow that the sound of soil shifting could be heard every inch. The crew's pulses were genuinely racing. No one knew if there was a hollow chamber beneath the vault or if the pressure shift could cause a collapse. Rick touched the edge with his hand and whispered, "If this door has been closed for centuries, opening it would be just as dangerous." Marty signaled the operations team to begin the next phase of the lift. The crane's steel cables began to come under tension, and the shaft walls began to tremble slightly with vibrations. Every sound now seemed amplified: the slight friction of metals, the shifting of soil, and the crew's muffled breathing. The crane operator began to raise the door, millimeter by millimeter. At first, the door resisted, as if something underneath was grabbing it and pulling. Then suddenly, there was a dull metallic crack. It sounded as if a centuries-old seal was finally breaking. The sound was so raw that some crew members instinctively backed away. Rick said, "That's it! The seal is breaking!" As the crane lifted the metallic vault door, a large, heavy object slowly emerged from the soil below. Initially, only a corner was visible, but within seconds, the entire upper surface shone. Its entire body had a gold-plated shine, but it wasn't clean or polished. It had a thick layer of time, as if it had been sealed inside for centuries. The object was so large that at first it seemed like a massive chest, but as its shape became clearer, it was revealed to be the upper segment of a vault chamber, covered in unknown symbols, unusual curved lines, and markings that didn't match any known historical civilization. Rick and Marty were stunned. This discovery was Oak Island's weirdest and most mysterious find. As the camera team zoomed in closer, the symbols became even sharper. Some were geometric patterns, some spirals, and some strange cross-like figures with no direct historical reference. Marty said softly, "It's not Spanish. It's not Templar either. It's something else." After the investigation, Spooner concluded that this style wasn't a result of natural erosion. It was engravings created purposefully. The truth seemed to be deeper than it appeared. Every member of the team sensed that this wasn't just a find. It could be a clue to a hidden civilization or a lost group. But just as excitement was at its peak, another unexpected twist occurred above ground. Two black SUVs suddenly pulled up at the site. The entry was so abrupt that the crew itself was stunned. Two officials, plain clothes, no identification, no visible ID, disembarked from the SUVs. They quietly approached Rick and spoke to him in voices so low that even the camera couldn't capture anything. Rick's expression gradually grew tense. Marty moved toward them, but was signaled to stay back. The crew members looked at each other, all with the same question on their minds. Who are these people? And why have they arrived now? After a few minutes of private conversation, officials instruct Rick that certain details of the find should not be shown on camera. Their words were calm, but the tone clearly conveyed authority. Immediately, the safety team orders a temporary halt of the excavation. The reason given was structural risk. But anyone could sense the decision was made not for genuine safety concerns, but due to some hidden protocol. Cameras are slowly retracted, and the crew is told to maintain a distance from the shaft. Rick was visibly upset. He knew Oak Island had always been associated with stories of secrecy and government involvement, but he had never seen this level of interference so directly. Marty quietly said, "If they want to stop it, then that means there's something in this vault that no one should see there." Fear and curiosity grew within the crew. This discovery wasn't just about history, but perhaps also about some classified truth. By evening, the vault is moved and restricted access to the site is imposed. But as soon as operations are shut down, the sonar scan team takes a final reading. And that's where the episode's biggest twist comes in. The scan reveals that beneath the sealed vault lies not just empty soil, but another massive chamber. This chamber is nearly twice the size of the first vault, much deeper, and its outline resembles an engineered megastructure. The crew's eyes widen. If the first vault was so large and mysterious, how vast and ancient could the second chamber hidden beneath it be? If this was just the first vault, then what lies beneath? And who hid it here? This question was powerful enough to keep viewers hooked until the next episode. The episode ends on this spine-chilling suspense. The entire Oak Island now stands at the threshold of a new mystery. And what history lies hidden in the darkness below? No one knows.